Leadership. It's more than just a title, it's a journey, shaped by decisions, fueled by experiences, and defined by stories. And some of the most powerful stories are the ones you haven't heard just yet. The stories are real, insights game changing, and the leaders, they're right here. I'm excited. Welcome to Leadership Unscripted. Today, I'm happy to host Mr. Sudipta Roy, MD and CEO at L&T Finance. Welcome, Mr. Roy. Thank you so much, Sudipta, for spending time with us.
Thank you.
And thank you for giving us the opportunity to delve into what makes Sudipta tick. How do you sort of start your day? Any particular habits that you have as you sort of start your day to day?
The first thing that I do is even before I get out of bed, I check how well I have slept last night. So I sleep with my Apple Watch. So I track my sleep every day in the morning.
Okay.
Right, and so that's the first thing that I do. Even if I get out of bed. Typically, I'm in office. I try to be in office between 8:45 to 9. So and that's when the day starts. Uh, it's a little good to hit the office a little early because you tend to catch up on your emails before other people come in.
Yeah.
Right. So you get that 45-minute window to catch up and clear your emails and sort of gather your thoughts for the meetings of the day. Typically, most of the days, my meetings start from 9 a.m. in the morning.
Got it. You sleep well?
I really didn't realize, but for about 4-5 years, I really struggled with sleep. And, uh, while I was doing this, I recommend everyone to read this book. This book is called Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. Right? He's probably one of the world's most preeminent sleep scientists.
Wow.
Right? And what we don't realize is that sleep is the best form of exercise. So after that, I'm very, very careful about my sleep and I just make sure that I get that 6.5 to 7 hours no matter what comes.
I know of your hobby and your the time you spend, but I really want the viewers to know a lot more about your passion towards wildlife photography. Given you are from IIT, I thought that was a young Farhan Qureshi of 3 weeks in the making. But tell us about your passion.
Yeah, so it's been about, I would guess, about 15 years now. Been investing majority of my free time, right, and in sort of learning the craft. Photography as a craft is extremely complex. It's a very complex science, and wildlife photography as a genre is probably the most difficult genre of photography because your subject is not in your control, right? And there have been instance once in 2019, I sat for 5 hours in 40 degrees centigrade sun, right, from about 1:30 p.m. to about 6:30 p.m. 5 hours non-stop, right, for one particular shot.
Do you think you bring a lot of this to work? Patience, persistence.
Yeah, so some part of that comes to work. The first is that focus and persistence.
Yeah.
One of the things which I'm very, very focused on is that, again, when you're doing photography and when you're tracking, for example, a tiger, you're very focused on the task, right? And you probably will spend next 2 hours, even if the tiger is walking, it's walking, going and sitting, being a thicket, a bush, right? And, you're standing there, waiting for it to move, right? So it's bursts of action followed by long bursts of pause.
Yeah.
Right. But that teaches you patience, that teaches you to remain focused on the task in spite of the hiatuses in between.
Yeah.
So in a way, a part of that comes to work where we are very, very focused on what we do. But at the end of the day, we also have to be patient because sometimes good things take time to fructify. Right. So I'll give you a small example. When we started in building our new sort of, we built a fantastic new software in-house. We call it Cyclops. It's a new three-dimensional credit engine, probably one of its kind in the country now.
Yeah.
Gave the team about, 4 months to build. And the team actually delivered in 4 months. But the time from that we started scaling up. The scaling up took a lot of time.
No, I think a lot of younger folks need to listen to this about being patient.
Yeah.
Which is where
You have to be patient. You know, patience is one of the big unsung virtues of leadership,
right.
right? It's not instant coffee.
Yeah.
Results are not instant coffee.
Yeah.
Organization transformation is not instant coffee.
Yeah.
Right? People development does not happen overnight.
Yeah.
Right? It's a gradual, slow process.
Yeah.
So leaders have to be patient.
Yeah. Still keeping the focus on the end result.
That's right.
Absolutely. So Deepa, if you walk back through your journey, you spent between Citi and Deutsche Bank, you spent 10 years, 12 plus years at ICICI. I think if you reflect back on this journey and where you are today, what do you reflect on a couple of incidents or learnings that make you who you are today?
I started my career with FMCG. What FMCG rips away is your ego. And I'll give you a story. So I was in Colgate, and about 5 days in, or 5 or 6 days into Colgate, and I was sent after the initial initiation. I was sent to Calcutta, from where I was promptly dispatched to Siliguri, where I went with the salesman, and trying to go shop to shop, trying to sell toothpaste.
Yes.
So there's one young, not young, pretty middle-aged gentleman who was sitting in the shop, obviously Bengali. He asked me in Bengali, "You look like a person from a respectable family, right? So what are you doing?"
Yes, what tell us in Bengali.
I said that ভদ্রলোকের ছেলে মনে হচ্ছে,
Ah.
right? He said that from a respectable
Ah.
family. Toothpaste বেচছো কেন?
Ah.
Why are you selling
Why are you selling
toothpaste?
toothpaste?
Why are you selling toothpaste?
আমি জানি তোরা
হ্যাঁ।
হ্যাঁ।
And then he said, কি পড়াশোনা করেছো? What have you studied?
What have you?
So I said that, I have studied chemical engineering in IIT Kharagpur, and then I went and did my MBA in XLRI. Suddenly the guy was stunned. So what it does is that, any FMCG stint actually chips away
Yeah.
all the chips in your shoulder, right? And it teaches you a lot of discipline also. And so initial grounding was very hard,
And it's also the grounding, right? Because
it's the grounding. The FMCG, you see real Bharat.
Yeah.
And I was transferred from Siliguri to Guwahati.
Oh.
And Guwahati at this was peak of, it was a disturbed area, right? So it was again sort of a great experience working there. So, and then from Colgate, in 2000, I shifted to Citi. And to a certain extent, I shifted to Citi Cards. And Citi, I stayed in Citi for almost 6 years, 6.5 years. It was a great learning ground, because what it did was that it gave you a lot of freedom to do things and, sort of fail and break. And so that's where I learned the ropes of banking, and then came to Deutsche Bank. So if I always say that if Citi taught me the initial ropes of banking and how to distribution, etc., Deutsche Bank taught me compliance, control, structure, processes, because sort of a German way of working, right? And while in Deutsche Bank, I started managing parts of the business in India and China. So it started giving me a cross-cultural. So I used to manage a team in India, manage a team in China. So that, and the leadership style in China is completely different from the leadership style in India. You have the argumentative Indian, and in China, you have the compliant, execution focused Chinese.
Yeah.
Right. So, you have to really switch your management style. Switch in management style. And that is why, it's also very important that there's no one single management style. Right. Every situation demands a different management style.
That's true.
Right. And then, obviously, at the end of the global financial crisis, Deutsche decided to sort of pare down their sort of retail asset portfolio in the country. So I landed in ICICI Bank in 2010. So in Citi, I was in a part of a well-run business. In Deutsche Bank, I set up the business from scratch. So amazing learning.
Yeah.
In ICICI Bank, when I came, ICICI Bank post 2010 was in a need of a rebuild.
Yes.
And trust me, it's easy to work in a well-run business. It is relatively easier to start a business from scratch.
Right.
But to fix a business that is gone through some trouble is the toughest of all. Right. So the 12 years I spent in ICICI Bank was learning scale. ICICI Bank teaches you scale. So overall, I would say each of the organizations that I've worked in, right, I have followed them: Colgate, Citi, Deutsche, ICICI, big names in themselves.
Yeah.
Each of them have played a very formative part
Yeah.
in my leadership journey, and I'm grateful to all of them.
Oh, no, I'm sure. I'm sure. And as they say, uh, crisis creates leaders. I think
Yeah.
being part of some of these crises, building businesses, or changing from where you were in ICICI, just allows you to think. You've seen a lot, so what more can happen, what bad can happen.
Yeah.
You sort of build from there.
Yeah.
It's very true. So I think from that journey to now really lending to the real Bharat
Mm.
at L&T is again a very interesting pivot.
Yeah.
That you're making, and I'm very excited because again I believe if we fast forward the next 5 years, growth is in the real Bharat that
Yeah.
we are lending to. So tell us about how you are thinking about lending to the Bharat of our times.
As L&T Finance as an organization, we are that unique sort of asset profile where we are 50% rural, 50% urban. Though in my previous jobs, I have mostly managed urban portfolios,
Right.
and this is probably the first time handling scale rural portfolios.
Yeah.
But fundamentally at the bottom level, fundamentals of lending remain the same. The customer is a little different. We are one of the largest in microfinance in the country.
Correct.
And, after coming to L&T Finance, I have had the chance of traveling extensively in rural India. And when you travel in rural India, there are two things that hits you very starkly.
Mm.
Uh, South India is probably 10 years ahead of North India, or probably I would say Northeast India.
Okay.
Right? What we are trying to do is that we have a lot of customers who are women, right? And most of these women customers, especially on the microfinance side, have been making a journey with us, right? So they probably started small with a 35,000 loan, right? And then repaid it and taken another loan, and now probably are in the fourth cycle, right? For most of those customers, what we are trying to do is that we're trying to see if in their sort of, and many of them do small size businesses, some kirana shop somewhere,
Sure.
some animal husbandry, and maybe a vegetable shop somewhere, etc. So we have seen some of those women grow along with us, right? So what we are trying to do right now is that also launch products, right, which probably are a little higher ticket size and help them in their particular growth journey as well.
Yeah.
It is very important to note that you also have to be a very, very responsible lender in the rural areas.
Yeah.
Because rural areas in by nature are very, very credit hungry,
Yes.
right? And given a credit tap, if you turn on the tap very, very fast, leverage builds up very fast.
Clearly.
Because they really do not know that this much and thus further. They're not really very, very
Financial
sophisticated
literacy.
borrowers.
Yeah.
They need to know, they are becoming sophisticated. But as of now, I won't say that, a large proportion of them are sophisticated borrowers.
Right.
And given the fact that there is always a little bit gap between what is needed and what is available in the rural areas,
Mm.
right? There is always that gap of liquidity which they're always trying to plug through borrowing.
Yeah.
So it's also very important for us to be a responsible lender. So what we are trying to do is now bring products and services which give them that required liquidity push or that liquidity in their hands, while on the other hand balancing the risk reward equation, just to make sure that they are not getting indebted too much, right? So that is what we are trying to do, right? And if you see if you see our performance, especially in the last year, when the microfinance industry went through a little bit of an asset quality issue, our performance has been head and shoulders ahead of all others.
Yeah.
So for us, the mantra is rural lending, give what they want at the right time without leveraging the customer.
Got it. And Sudipta, if you leverage 4-5 years ahead, and if you look at India of 2030, on one hand, obviously the country will grow with the growth in GDP, etc. Plus, I think the population that will come in terms of borrowing financial services will be the Gen Zs of today.
That's right.
As your organization will evolve to catering to the Gen Zs, and just look at how India will borrow in the next 4-5 years differently.
See, I think majority of the borrowing is becoming digital. I remember when I started my retail financial services journey, a large amount of the origination used to be through the direct sales channel.
Yeah.
The direct sales channel is still relevant today, but the fact is that a large amount of the borrowing has moved online. A large of the amount of the borrowing has moved on demand. I believe that as the Gen Z comes up, right, couple of sort of lending slash asset classes will probably have more salience than over others. I think cards and payments. We are about overall about maybe about 85 million cards today, right? Probably we'll get to about 100 million very soon, right? But the Gen Z also now, wants to make sure that, at least while they're paying, etc., they maximize their payment and earn rewards, etc. So I see a lot of Gen Z customers very, very focused on what rewards that they get.
True.
And so they are wanting to make their money work much, much harder. Or even when they borrow, trying to squeeze the last sort of juice out of that borrowing equation. They're very, very astute about what rates are available in the market.
Yeah.
Because information, thanks to the fintech revolution, is much, much more freely available.
That's true.
And they're more likely to go and seek a loan one of the interesting features about Gen Z or Gen Alpha as they will come on is that they trust tech platforms equally as they trust the sort of the brick and mortar banks.
That's true.
Right. So for them going to Google Pay or for them going to Cred or for them going to PhonePe and taking a loan from there is sort of similar as going in to a full stack bank or an NBFC
That's true.
and taking a loan. So they're more likely to seek a loan digitally.
Yeah.
And last but not the least, they're more likely to seek service instantly. In a generation that is built on the Swiggies and the Zomatos, right, where you are seeing your delivery coming, you're used to tracking it. For a Gen Z to log a service request and being told that it will take 4 days for the financial services institution to come back, they just can't fathom it. But ye kya hai?
Yeah.
Someone should give me minute by minute update, right?
I
Of
need
how-
the Amazon experience.
I need the Amazon experience.
Yeah.
So for them, they want the same e-commerce, quick commerce experience in financial services.
That's true.
And that is where most of the financial services organizations, though movement has been made, are still miles behind.
I agree.
In fact, in my organization, when I came in and I asked, what is that we commit our customers, how many days we'll get back? I'm not telling the exact date. It was mortifying. They said, we'll take X days to get back to you. I said, what's that?
You're right.
Right.
You are right.
And so progressively we have been bringing it down.
Correct.
Right. But the fact is that, Gen Z expects that I log in and my problem should be solved in the next 15 minutes.
Absolutely.
Right.
I think customer
I apply for a loan, I should get the loan response within the next 15 minutes.
100%.
Right. So they want the same experience.
Correct.
And that is where financial services has to move to.
Correct. No, you're absolutely right. And this comes time and again. And like you said, customer experience, customer service is table stakes at
Correct.
this stage.
Correct.
And everything will revolve around it. I mean, if I ask a provocative question, do you think cap tables might change for organizations that don't really focus on these parts, even
Absolutely.
large organizations?
Absolutely. And, and I'll tell you a line which I said L&T Finance completed 30 years this year. I normally speak extempore.
Yeah.
Right. But for this is the first time I wrote down my speech because I wanted to be very, very clear in what I say. And I also wanted to be very, very focused on what I say. And I said very, very clearly that in the next decade, a lot of the existing winners will fall by the wayside and a lot of new winners will be created, right, in the existing 10 to 15 years.
Yes.
Because we're again at an inflection point.
Yes.
Right. And given the fact that AI is moving at such a fast pace, right? And I'm sure you're following the trends. Transforming in your image to Studio Ghibli style image is just like spread like wildfire.
Yes.
The AI world is moving very, very fast.
And the speed of adoption is also
And the speed of adoption is very, very fast.
correct.
Organizations that do not understand this And organizations do not change fast enough to use applicative AI in all their lines of work, right, will fall behind. And as I say, a new set of winners will be created, and they will power ahead.
I'm glad you're saying this because I'm hoping a lot of our Gen Z viewers who are viewing this understand that financial services is moving in that direction, because
Exactly.
what bothers me sometimes, Sudipta, is a lot of the younger folks
Yeah.
who at our age, a lot of folks, when we were starting our careers, the top talent used to go to financial services.
Yes.
And now all of a sudden, that top talent is got sort of distributed between
Yes.
financial services and e-commerce companies. And I think leaders like yourself are paving the way of how financial services are transforming themselves using tech and AI.
Yeah.
And that's where the top talent needs to be. So I'll take the cue from that point, Sudipta. And I know you are a big proponent of tech and AI. You gave me a glimpse of what you did in Cyclops, but tell us again, just fast forward next 3-4 years, how do you think AI will transform financial services more specifically?
So finance will consume an incredible amount of engineering, right? And so there will, and finally the products and services that the financial services firms will bring to their customers will have a solid bedrock of engineering, built on the latest tools.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you see AI, if I take the overall AI part, Gen AI is one part. Machine learning is also
Huge.
AI, yeah, right? And the fact is that you have to use horses for courses,
Of course.
right? So if you see in Cyclops, in Cyclops, it is more of machine learning and less of AI.
Yeah.
But the fact is that if you and if you and which is our Gen AI based, which is our machine learning based credit engine, three-dimensional credit engine. But the fact is that if you look at some of the tools that you're using in in AI, for example, in microfinance, auto attendance using face match,
Right.
using a deep learning algorithm that we used, right? I do believe that most organizations will have three buckets in which AI will be used or will be used. First in is in onboarding, how you can onboard in a far more foolproof fashion.
Yeah.
Right. In fact, for example, one of the problems that we face in two-wheeler business, which is a very large business for us, is mules. There are a lot of customers who come, they're not the end user of the bike.
Correct.
They just are lending their credit profile for someone else to pick up the bike. Now, what we are doing is that we are using very advanced machine learning to build an algorithm. Incidentally, we call the algorithm the Shikhandi algorithm. That means, putting someone in the front, right? And to identify mules.
Yeah.
And we are able to do that now to a 94% certainty level.
Fantastic.
Right? So, which is again a very good outcome of using technology to solve a problem on the ground. In terms of, our micro-loading its property, we are using now Gen AI based tools, right, to grade the quality of a dwelling. It goes and checks whether it has got exposed wiring or not. Is it a pakka house or a kacha house? Is it painted or non-painted?
Correct.
Right? It interior photographs it is able to decode and come up with the standard of living index,
Yes.
which goes as a feed into the credit algorithm.
Got it. Got it.
So I believe that in origination you can use, in portfolio management you can use, in customer service you can use, right? And you can use in overall interaction layer with the customer. So it is in every sphere that you can use.
Absolutely.
Right? And the way your data systems are structured, the way your allied, sort of, it requires a lot of pipes to flow, right? And it requires a lot of streaming data flow as well.
Correct.
Right? So how they are structured and how you're able to manage the latency during all these processes to deliver a seamless user experience will define the winners and the losers from tomorrow. The bedrock principles of financial services will still
remain the same.
Yeah. But the delivery mechanism will become completely technology driven.
Seamless, invisible, as much as
Invisible.
possible. Yeah, and I call it the agentic mesh, because all these agents that you are building
That's right.
will automatically over a period of time start becoming so expert. So you're almost building like various chefs in the kitchen. One chef is very good at frying, other chef is very good at cutting.
Yes.
And then you are building this data layer, which is
Yeah.
like a mesh.
Yeah.
And the journey will move in such a seamless manner that from product exploration to onboarding to underwriting to servicing,
Yeah.
you almost see AI architecting that entire journey in a very, very serious way.
I'll give you a good example. For example, our first agentic AI bot, we call it Kai, which is knowledgeable AI, right? So we build it for mortgage business because we felt that mortgage normal chatbots are very generic.
Hmm.
You go there, they will regurgitate some templated answers. In 30 seconds you feel bored. Kai is able to meaningfully interact with you. It's able to do bilingual. So from suddenly or English, you convert to English, it is able to pick up English.
Absolutely.
And if you say, I want to borrow so and so, and I want to repay, and complex problems.
Correct.
I want to prepay X amount, and then and then what will be my EMI,
Yeah.
or give you simulation from my EMI. It instantly gives everything.
Does it on the fly.
And to some extent, what has happened is that for people who come and use Sky to get some of their questions answered, invariably end up applying for a lengthy finance loan at the end.
Fantastic.
Right? So it has got turbocharged our lead generation from our digital platforms.
Yeah. This is signs of times to come, but
Yeah.
this is fantastic what you're already doing. So if I had to ask you that if there was a leader or a person that you would want to follow for a week or mirror or watch, who would that be and why?
I really admire Elon Musk.
I'm sure.
I have been following him for the last 6 to 8 years.
Hmm.
If you go to YouTube
Hmm.
and if you see this 3-part series of
Hmm.
Everyday Astronaut,
Hmm.
and where Elon takes the guy who runs this channel, Everyday Astronaut, through the tour of Starbase in Texas, right? And talks about his philosophy of building SpaceX. And one of the first things which I showed, and right? He whatever money he made from the sale of PayPal, or whatever money he got from PayPal, right? He put put a part in Tesla, he put a part in SpaceX. And SpaceX, he was one launch away from, the very iconic photo. I don't know whether you have seen that photo. They launched off an island, and the entire rocket crashed. So to do the analysis as to why it crashed, they assembled the parts of the rocket in a shed. And Musk is sitting like on his haunches and sitting there and looking at the parts of the rockets, the parts of the rocket. And this is when you are inches away from bankruptcy, literally.
Yeah.
Right. And from there to the concept of rapid reusability, and if you see and this is how the nerd in me will come out, right? And you will see how the Raptor engine has gone through its iterations and how it has become, simpler over time.
Right.
How the vacuum Merlin engines have, progressed, right? And how, the Starship, right? They have, sort of iterated the design of the Starship to now the Mechazilla catching the star. See, when first he said, 4 years back that we'll have a Mechazilla catch the Starship,
everybody.
I said, this is nonsense.
Yes. Everybody.
It is nonsense. But the fact is that they've done it.
He did it.
They have done it.
Absolutely.
So, and in that Everyday Astronaut 3-part series, he tells his management philosophies. Iterate fast, fail fast, cut your losses and move on, right? And there are several of them,
Wow.
right?
Wow.
And so on. At the end of the day, and plus he's a person who works 24/7.
That's true.
The story is that he used to sleep beneath the table in the Tesla factory, right? When they were having troubles in scaling up production, he slept for 1 year, right? Beneath his office table, right? And that's what he did. Either he used to sleep on the roof or sleep beneath the table. That's true. Which also means that, and this is my definition of, people say, have the word, chief executive officer is CEO is chief executive officer. I say that day of chief executive officer, which is like a mythical being, sitting in a corner of it, who, like, a fairy tale comes and shows his face at times when the window opens, right? Those days are over.
That is gone.
The CEO is defined now as Chief Execution Officer.
That's true.
Right?
Excellence doesn't come,
बस न्यूटन बोल के गया है, सॉरी न्यूटन नहीं, एडिसन, 99% perspiration, 1%
1%
inspiration,
inspiration.
right?
That's true.
बोल के गया है ना,
Right.
सो वही है,
वही है,
99% perspiration है, वो 1% inspiration,
उसमें कोई compromise ही नहीं.
कोई compromise ही नहीं है.
What is your advice to some of the younger folks?
You slowly practice the art of detachment, right? So previously I used to carry work home, I used to brood, ये वो, वो जिसको बोलते हैं ना हिंदी में दिल पे ले लेता था,
हाँ, be
कुछ
focused
बोला
but don't be consumed.
right? Be focused but don't be consumed.
Hmm.
Our ancient texts have told us long time back that do the task,
कर्म करो फल की चिंता मत करो.
कर्म करो फल की चिंता मत करो, right? It is like, I don't know, 48 karat gold philosophy,
So true.
right?
So true.
So if you are detached, then you do not have that much of stress. Last thing is, get out of office and switch off. Have a very strong hobby or a personal pursuit.
That's true.
I have a very strong hobby and a personal pursuit. I can come out of a very grueling board meeting where things might have gone either or sideways.
Yeah.
I'll go home, I'll open my computer, I'll open my photography editing tool, and I'm completely switched off.
I'm gonna go to our second segment. I can actually go on and on, but the second segment is what we call as flash finesse. It's questions and answers in a flash.
Okay.
Our take on the rapid fire, and give us whatever answers that come to your mind. One word that sort of describes your leadership style.
I would say enabling.
One habit you swear by to peak your productivity.
Discipline.
A mistake you're glad you made.
I originally thought leaving FMCG would be a mistake, but it was probably the best thing that I would have.
Yeah. Good learning, but
Good learning.
but
Yeah.
paperback or ebook?
Paperback. The feel of having a physical book in the hand, nothing can beat it.
Hills or beaches?
Hills.
Hills.
Yes, but though I like beaches as well, right? But given a preference, hills.
Okay. Fine dine or street food?
Actually, both.
Both.
Actually, both. Both of them have their nuances.
You cook?
I cook a bit.
Oh, it's good therapy.
It's good therapy.
Yeah, it is for me as well. AI driven decisions or human expertise?
Horses for courses. Difficult, nuanced, moral dilemma handling, human expertise. Rote, brute force processing and decision making that does not have moral overhang. Yeah.
Big picture or the fine details?
Actually, both. You need to see the big picture, but you should have the capability to zoom in when needed. So actually both.
Do you watch a lot of movies at all?
As a genre, I really love sci-fi.
Sci-fi?
I really love.
Can you
I
imagine?
really. So Denis Villeneuve is my favorite director. In fact, I think the original Ridley Scott Blade Runner film was one of my favorite films.
Do you get time for friends or over the weekends?
I have a very strong friend network, right? And because I do believe is that and this is very important, right? Everyone that you meet in your life, barring your family and friends, have probably some sort of agenda.
Yeah.
Right? It is only your friends that give you free, unfiltered feedback.
Yeah.
Right?
They don't care.
They don't care. So if you really want to know what's going wrong, if you really want to know what you're doing wrong, right? If you really want good advice without any agenda, it is friends.
Absolutely.
And we have a ritual now. About 8 or 10 of our school friends meet 4 days every year. Some of your old friendship actually keep you much more, I would say, grounded and give you that sort of touch with the past.
Absolutely.
Right? And it's at the end of the day, finally you really, when you are with friends, you are not looking over your shoulders. When you are always in corporate life, you're always looking over your shoulder.
Lovely to know you. On a parting note, whatever you please, but your life in a hashtag or in a movie title or in a song, whatever that inspires you, on a closing note.
Tough one again in a movie. So hashtag would be Hashtag would be creative energy.
Creative energy. Interesting. You are creative and lots of energy for sure. Sudipta, thank you so much for spending time with us. It's lovely to know various facets of your life. And I'm sure the viewers will enjoy this a lot more. Thank you again.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to have the
And thank
conversation.
you for hosting us at your lovely
Thank you so
office.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.